Good afternoon, everyone. I am back. I'm excited. My name is Allison Turner, in case you are running across me on the internet somewhere. And I want to talk a little bit about today. I'm the owner of Bad Cat Media Group here in Delray Beach, Florida. And we do branding and websites, and I do business coaching with startup companies or those maybe thinking about starting a business. And we do video production and a whole lot of different services. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about something I heard yesterday morning, and it was the term faith it until you make it. So most of us, I don't know if most of us, but I have heard the term fake it until you make it. So sometimes people say that, when you're new in business and you're just getting started and you're building out services and things, and like fake it until you make it. So, and it's kind of like, well, do you want someone fake? You're hiring someone fake, and that kind of doesn't always resonate with me. But yesterday I heard this term, faith it until you make it. And I really liked that. And you don't have to be religious or anything like that to believe this term or understand it and be empowered by it. Because for me, I'm not really religious. I'm more spiritual, if anything. So for me, faith it until you make it is, how do I have faith that the path I'm on is going to get me to where I want to go and not have those doubts? Because when we own a business, or even when you're challenged by other things in your life, it could be your kids. I know I've not personally had my own kids, but I know that can be challenging. It could be your marriage, your relationship. It could be anything. It could be something that if you work for someone else, it could be that. Sometimes we're in this like up and down roller coaster. Has anyone ever experienced that? If you're hearing me out there, it's like one day we're soaring high and we're excited and we've hit whatever the next goal is and we're on our way and we know we're going to hit it. And then maybe the next day you take that step back for whatever that is for you. And so it's that up and down journey, but through it, if you can really have faith that you're going to be successful, that you're going to continue moving forward, that you're going to, achieve that next step, whatever that is for you. Again, it could be, I'm talking about business, but it could be something completely different for you. It's that faith it until you make it. So it's having that unwavering faith. So even when that roadblock comes into the road and or you turn this way instead of going this way, it's knowing that, hey, that's okay. And I'm going to be okay. And the situation is going to be okay. And I'm going to keep moving forward. Because how often have we created a problem that doesn't exist? Because our mind likes to create problems. So think about, like if I say, hey, I'm doing this at the end of the month and I need to do X, Y, and Z. And then your mind's like, oh, but what if this doesn't happen? What if this goes wrong? What if this, goes a completely different direction? Like, in your mind just creates these problems that don't even exist. They're what if situations of like, what if this happens? It hasn't even happened yet. And so instead of living in the present and saying, hey, I am where I am, I'm going to continue moving forward, I'm going to continue that next step, I'm going to continue down my powerful path, your mind's like second guessing everything. And it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's good to say, hey, you know what? Refocus to the present and say, I'm going to continue in faith. Whatever this journey is I'm on, I'm going to continue in faith. I'm going to walk that path and know that as long as I do the next step and then the next step and then the next step. I said something yesterday in a group I was in, and it's this slow and steady wins the race. So a lot of times I've always felt like, I need this block of time. I need to be able to work on some of our stuff for the company. And I need like a block of 2 or 3 hours. So I end up doing a lot of stuff on the weekend. And that's okay. Sometimes I'm clear, I don't have distractions, things like that. So it's okay. But then now I've started doing like 18 minutes a day for a couple of tasks, and that's 7 days a week. So it's great because sometimes I can just spend that 18 minutes because my schedule's super busy, I'm a little crazy, and that's okay. And then other days, maybe I have a little extra time. So that 18 minutes maybe turns into 30 minutes or turns into an hour. But the point is that I'm continuing to move forward. So I'm like keeping that path in front of me. I'm keeping the vision in front of me. And I'm having that faith that it's all going to fall into place, even though I have all these things to do. So I want to give just a couple of examples of this faith it until you make it. Hey, Betsy. So, number one is, when I was growing up, I played tennis. So I started tennis when I was 7. I moved to Indianapolis from Florida, and I started tennis when I was 7. So my parents always kind of saw this path, I think. I don't know if they always saw it, but, I was on this path of getting better and then playing the national circuit and then eventually going to college on a scholarship. But how do you know you're going to go to the college you want to go to? How do you know you're going to be good enough to get a Division I college scholarship? I mean, when did that occur to me or my parents or my coaches or whoever that I was actually going to make that connection? And it's almost having that faith. And when you're in the journey, it's really tough sometimes. And I've always had that kind of tough, especially in tennis, I had that kind of love-hate relationship, especially towards the end of my playing days of, that up and down. But it was like, okay, even if I have an off day in practice or I'm just pissed off at the world for whatever reason in tennis, and it's still the next step. It's like continue in faith, continue in faith, continue in faith. So, that's one example. The second example I want to talk a little bit about was when we started this business. So when I started this business, I was with a business partner almost 10 years ago, maybe 10 years even this year. And she had started businesses before. I had kind of started a business, but it was kind of, I call it the baby business, a little business. I never really made a ton of money. It was like a thought, something I was putting out there. So this was the first one that was, a successful business that got started. And all businesses have to start from something. So if any of you are out there thinking about starting a business, get overwhelmed by all the stuff you have to do. Because again, it's that slow and steady wins the race. It's having that faith. So faith it until you make it. It's not fake it, faith it until you make it. So you know exactly, write out the list that you have to get done. Do you need to incorporate first? Do you need to consult an attorney or a CPA first to figure out, do you want to be an LLC or do you want to be an S Corp or a C Corp or whatever you want to be? What's the next step? But again, it's this, keep moving forward, keep having faith that as long as you continue to get these steps done, everything's going to work out in your favor. And it's not always easy. And it's taken me really kind of a lot of my journey through these last 10 years to get to this point, because there's too many, when you own a business, like you're responsible for people that are working for you. You're responsible for your payroll. You're responsible for, going out, a lot of times going out and getting clients, unless you have dedicated salespeople. So ultimately the buck stops with you. So, there's pressure on you all the time to get to that next level, to get to that, create that next vision. And so now I find myself in that very spot where I'm getting ready to launch my own branded website. And it'll be about me, and it'll talk about my coaching, my business coaching, my being a speaker. I'll have my blog on there. I'll have a link to my podcast on there. So I'm getting ready to launch that. And then with that, I'm getting ready to launch a webinar and a course. So the course is going to be talking about people that want to start a business and getting into, how to create that first 6 figures in your first year in business, which is not easy, especially if you're a solopreneur. But how do you get into that mindset? How do you get into the thought process? How do you basically be able to create that? So again, even though it's falling under my big umbrella of my business, which is Bad Cat Media Group, and my corporation, it's still, hey, Angeline, it's still daunting. But again, it's that faith it until you make it. So, it's figuring out each day, doing a little bit, continuing to move forward, and continuing to kind of put your best foot forward, and knowing that sometimes you're going to hit that brick wall and like run into it, and you're going to be like, oh my God, what the heck? And then sometimes it's going to be okay. And you know what? You may hit the brick wall and then you realize you got to take a right instead of going straight. And that's okay. So think about this in your own business, way I'm talking about it, or in your own life, because again, it could be with your kids, it could be with a relationship, it could be with, if you're working for someone else, it could be in many walks of life. But I heard this yesterday. Shout out to Glenn Lundy and his Rise and Grind show at 5:30 a.m. So I heard it yesterday, and I just thought it was an interesting way of reframing that quote unquote fake it until you make it, because that really doesn't always resonate. Because I'm like, why would someone like hire me as if I'm faking it until I make it? It's not that I'm fake. It's that I'm leading in faith and stepping into something that then makes a greater impact on the world and on other people and other businesses. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Again, my name is Allison Turner. I am the founder of Bad Cat Media Group, which is home to my podcast, Dream, Plan, Start, Grow. And I wish you a fabulous afternoon. And I will talk to you again later this week. Have a good one, everyone.